Okay, we are live now. Hey everybody, how is everyone doing? We are live now and on a lovely Sunday morning on the West Coast. And how's everybody doing? Waking up?
GM.
It's crazy fast these couple of weeks, like more than usual. I feel like it's already July, 4th of July just passed, and I felt like we just had New Year's, and it was like, okay, not that exaggerated, but still, it was like, it just felt like, I don't know, I feel like we're still in March, but now I go outside and I get food, dinner somewhere just like I go to like Popeyes or something at like 7-8 p.m. and I'll eat and I'll come out at like 8:30 and the sun is still up and I'm like, what the hell, what time is it? And I just realized it's like half of 2025, more than half is over, which like blows my mind. I think it's just getting old. Maybe am I just getting old?
Nah, it's crypto time. It messes with your mind. Like when there's a run, crypto time just moves different for everyone.
That's true, eh? Okay, so we'll run through some updates. We'll kind of let people show up a bit, and then have our featured guest today, which is my good friend Razzaer. He's been creating a lot of YouTube content. I'll let him talk a little bit more about that. But also, we've had conversations in the past where I would bounce ideas off of him, and he's offered really good insight, being kind of more of a Solana OG in the space, and he's been writing like farming guides since the very beginning. So we will have that come up real soon. Yeah, so as of today, a couple updates, which is posted been looking into this thing recently, which is Xdocs. That launched earlier this week on Radium. I know we usually talk about Meteora. We'll talk about Radium today. Radium is the other DEX on Solana, the other AMM, or so to speak. They're kind of competitors with Meteor. And this week was interesting because they launched basically stocks on chain. You can now buy Tesla on Solana, which is kind of crazy. I don't think we would have been talking about that last year. And what's interesting about these things is essentially when they track the same price as NYSE or New York Stock Exchange or the NASDAQ. So if you're buying NVIDIA on chain, the price is pretty close. I've been looking at how it's tracking the price. It's about less than 1%. So if SPY, for example, the S&P 500 is like 625, on-chain might be like 626. And that's pretty much how far the spread is. And so that creates this interesting thing because SPY or S&P 500 is a lot of what like boomers buy to basically kind of be a counter against inflation. They didn't have Bitcoin. They don't have these crypto assets, so they always bought SPY. And so you now kind of sort of have an option to either stable into Solana, stable into USDC, or stable into SPY, which is really interesting. And that's what our parents or my parents have always done. I've been looking at the data into how it's tracking. Now, over the weekends, for example, July 2nd, which was not the weekend, this past week, after the market closed, because of course the New York Stock Exchange or Nasdaq will close after like 7 p.m. The on-chain market continues to trade because Solana is 24/7, doesn't turn off. And during these hours, there's actually an arbitrage opportunity to make money by simply holding the token prior to the market closes, and it would sometimes pump. And in this case, it went from 625 to like 660 in these hours on July 2nd, after I think it was like 9 or 10 p.m. Western time. And by the next day, which is when the market opens again for the off-chain market, the price would level again because people would sell it back down. And I think in these few hours, people made about 100 grand overnight. So it's not like a massive 100x runner, but it is kind of a interesting thing that I've noticed. So might be an opportunity there. So this is SPY, S&P 500. That's what happened on the 2nd. This was Circle. So the price basically stayed along the bottom here and just stayed. Basically, the market's closed and then the market's open, but then on chain, there's all this kind of crazy volatility. And then people exited before the market opened, and then the prices synced up. So that was kind of interesting. I've been looking into that. Have you looked into the stock stuff?
I haven't really. I just know that you can trade it on chain now, which is pretty cool. Like anyone around the world can trade stocks now, which is amazing.
Yeah. They had about 8 million volume. Well, I was doing some LP for it since there's like farming rewards, but you have to use Radium, which is like harder to use.
Yeah,
people complain about it.
First time I saw Radium, I was like, I'm so lost. I'm just going back to Meteor for now.
a little bit. Yeah, yeah. Actually, it's supposed to be easier, but yeah, it's they're working. I know the team, and they're like always trying to work on it. In other news, published a new article, and this thing is a bit more for teams. I mentioned last week that we're at UltraLP, that we are trying to also start helping teams. Right now we help LPs, individual LPers who are providing liquidity for run meme coins. But what we found was a major gap was that token teams, the ones that launch projects, build different tools in Solana, when they launch tokens, sometimes they don't have no idea about how to manage liquidity, how to do LP. And these guys are sitting on like 10, 20% of the whole token supply. So if they mess up, it really kind of changes how well the token trades. So helping these guys really makes a big impact on the token market. And, basically we see it as a win-win. If these teams get better at LPing, providing liquidity for their token increases the volume, and then other LPers and traders can experience less slippage, buy and sell, grow the volume, and then everybody wins. So that's an initiative that I've been trying to work on. And this is the second part of the article. Still kind of testing to see if this is the best avenue of putting information out there. I know it's a little bit outdated, just writing full blog articles, but I'm working on other forms of content to try and get this more in front of different token teams. So if you have a Solana project and you're thinking about launching a token, or you currently have a token but you're unsatisfied with kind of how the token is performing, or just want to learn more about how liquidity works, feel free to reach out to me on Twitter, and we can talk a little bit more about that. This particular talk is about early stage volatility, because a lot of tokens, they look like this, right? And especially on launch, that's when price discovery happens. And that's when the market has no idea what your price is really supposed to be or ought to be. And hopefully it's higher than what you started with, and continues to grow that way. I think that's the whole idea for most teams. In the early stages, you could use liquidity in a strategic way to actually manage that volatility a little bit. And why is that important? Usually volatility for us LPers is a good thing. We want to see huge spikes, but pretty much in a set range, right? We make the most fees that way. But for teams, it's more about longevity, right? For teams, they lock up their tokens. Like if I were the founder of a project and I launched a token, I'm going to tell my community it's locked up for say 3 months, 6 months. So I don't really care about the price of the token in like the next 30 minutes, right? Those are the guys that are maybe in the trenches. But if I was actually trying to build a project, my tokens don't even unlock for another 6 months. So I really care about where the price is in 6 months, and I hope that it's higher than now. I hope that it's getting there. A lot of holders, a lot of people trading the token, people are following the community and have faith and have conviction. And so when you manage your volatility to a lower degree, control the price max and price lows, people don't feel as scared, right? You don't want to see a 60% drawdown in your company. Like if Amazon did a 60% drop every other week, it's really hard to invest in the company and focus on the company's other parts like revenue and things like that. So they're a little bit different than meme coins, right? That's why non-meme coin projects, this is for non-meme coin projects. What you should do is use liquidity in a smart way to try and minimize that, to get people to hold your token and have conviction. And maybe they can sell at the price that they're happy with, and other people can buy at the price that doesn't have high slippage. And one of the strategies or the analogies I like to make is kind of like these like really dense walls. If you put liquidity in a smart way in different places, you could make it not so much like harder for the price to go down or something. It's more like it takes longer to, or more liquidity to get there. Kind of like analogous to like a fish trying to swim through seaweed. It just takes more energy. And in this case, it takes more volume to get past a certain price. So this is how we liquidity providers can actually kind of strategically do this. Now, of course, there's risks. You put a fat load of liquidity on the way down, people are going to sell through it. But then, is that what you want? Like maybe the benefits versus risk is worth it, right? So it's all kind of about the strategy and how things are going at launch and the community, etc. So a lot of working parts there. So go check it out if you are interested. And finally, quick update on us. Again, if you've never been here, we are UltraLP. We're actually RPS AI. We're a company based on the West Coast that's building this Meteora D Copilot that helps you provide liquidity with more clarity. Some people like to say it feels like you're swimming naked without it. So we have about 3,000 people in our community that's using our tool to better track their DLMM positions through real-time P&Ls. So one of the problems is when you're providing liquidity is there's impermanent loss, there's divergence, prices going everywhere, meme coins are volatile, and you're trying to make money. So we tell you how well you're making that money and when to get out, when to put more in, that kind of stuff. So this week's update in this area is copy LPing has been pretty popular, and one of the ways that copy LPers find wallets is really through looking at these P&L cards. Everyone loves to share them. Everyone loves looking at them, talking about them. And some people have requested to kind of hide some of these elements so that they don't divulge kind of their strategies straight away. So that's actually kind of part of the conversation for today. Have you been doing any copy LPing?
Yeah, I have. I started with Met Engine,
Nice.
and then LP Agent. It's nice, like to farm yourself, like just to farm another wallet, copy yourself.
Yeah.
But I also tried to copy someone else's. Didn't go so well. Like we just both took an L together, and I was like, all right, let me just copy myself. I trust myself more, so.
Taking L's together.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think like I've tried it as well. Some work really, really well. Some not so much. Everyone tells me it's the secret is finding a good wallet. That doesn't seem to be hard with some of like the trackers that are out there. But I've also kind of seen like people kind of complain. People that are being copied also get upset about it. So I think there's like a whole debate here, which is really interesting. And let me bring up Razzaer on stage here. And
GM. Hello.
How are you doing?
Hey, how's it going? Doing good here.
Yeah, I'm doing all right. Just recovering from a cold. Just starting to slowly get my voice back, but not been able to make any videos past week, unfortunately.
Oh yeah, how's the video making going?
I've had to take a little break because, yeah, I don't know, I've just been really ill, but starting to get better slowly now.
Yeah, sorry, we just got disconnected real quick, but we're back. Because last time when we talked, you were taking a little bit of a break. You were moving, if I recall correctly, to a new area, and you were trying to figure out what's next. Do you remember that conversation?
Yeah, I suppose, was that probably February, March time? Because I had a big move to a new area. I feel I wasn't very active for this time period and only kind of reappeared for the last few months, I think.
Yeah, I feel like you're starting to kind of get momentum back up and creating new content, and that's always good to see. Has anything changed for you since then?
I don't think so, but yeah, I definitely think since then, a bunch of new tools have released, and it kind of made me want to start looking into them again, kind of made it more enticing to get back into LPing, I feel.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, we're going to ask you a little bit more about that. Do you mind just doing a quick introduction about yourself?
Yeah, of course. So, yeah, my name's Razzaer. I started LPing, I think, last year, 2024, around maybe March time, so quite early on. I kind of did kind of a challenge where I started on a low amount of Solana and tried to run it up. It's quite a different landscape then, and a lot less people LPing. Did that. I've been LPing pretty much ever since, apart from breaks from time to time, but managed to run up a small balance to, I think once I managed to go from 1 Solana to 100. And yeah, and recorded it on YouTube and made some guides as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. And how long did it take for you to do that, to kind of learn the ropes, but also be a little bit successful and then kind of grow from there?
It definitely took a few months. I remember the first month, maybe longer than a month, I wasn't making anything. I was maybe breaking even. I think I even probably took a loss for the first month. But it was a lot easier to make fees as well. But yeah, I learned from the Discord, so the previous Meteor, the main Discord, similar to how there's the LP army now, just learning from people in there and just testing, trying stuff, just get it putting some strategies into action, I found was the best way to learn.
Right on. And have you always been kind of in the Solana space?
Pretty much, yeah. Actually, yeah, originally started, I don't know the exact date, but probably when NFTs started, was it 2021, I think? But just randomly on a whim. I had some money in crypto previously, but I think I just bought an NFT, got a bit lucky with that one, kind of set me up. I can't remember the name. I think it was like a Solana Doge meme, and yeah, ran up with my current profile pic, Smugbirds. They were worth a lot of the time. Got a bit of a starting balance. One of them ran high, and traded NFTs for, I suppose, was it a year and a half or 2 years? They were quite hot, and then I feel like then we hit the bear market, obviously, and then found airdrops and LP and kind of brought me back in.
Nice.
So yeah, pretty much always just been Solana.
Have you felt like, because it sounds like you've been in this for at least like 3 years now, maybe longer, 3 or 4.
Yeah.
How do you feel like this recent cycle or wave or recent times, how's that compared with the past? And do you feel like you're different, or or the space is different?
I think so, yeah. I think I know it feels like we're not in a cycle anymore. I guess the traditional cycle.
Yeah.
It's been said quite a lot. I don't know a ton about, I guess, technical analysis on the broader crypto. I let other people do that. But yeah, it feels like we're not really in that anymore with all the institutions and stuff.
Yeah, it's like before it was always like, oh, this is the moment to make money because it's the bull market. And if you wait, you will miss it. Now it's just like, well, the opportunity is out there. You just have to go look for it.
Yeah, definitely. Like there was obviously lulls. Like, we had Meteora, like with LPing for a little bit, and we just feels like we go up for we have a good few weeks and then a few weeks down. But yeah, I guess that's just how markets are and how stuff works now.
Yeah. Well, awesome. I wanted to get into kind of, because I've been following you for a long time and watching your content. I know the guides and things like that. And you have also your Telegram group, which is one of the first groups that I got more involved with. I kind of just lurk. I don't have much to say. I don't have any cool ideas. I just go in there and see what the others are talking about. What made you want to kind of create content or build a community?
Yeah, I mean, it actually goes back to NFTs, and I actually did something similar. I did do it was completely different. I think it was 1 to 10 Solana challenge on YouTube. So, much smaller scale. And, even that got quite a lot of traction back then, even on my terrible setup.
Yeah.
So I had the channel then, and then, I made a few episodes, barely any, stopped that. And I don't know, I just felt when I recorded myself doing the trades, I held myself more accountable. That was, to be honest, probably the main reason, because as I said before, I was, taking losses. But when I kind of recorded, I had to speak, I had to narrate, what I was doing. And as I said, it made me accountable, realize what I was doing, maybe some mistakes as well. And I think it overall made me, trade a bit better.
That's interesting. It's kind of like you learn something better by teaching others.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, actually, that's a good way to put it.
Okay, that's good to know. So, on to kind of the main course of what I wanted to talk about with you. You've been looking into Copy LP, and you tried out maybe some different tools and stuff. What, like, Copy LP just, I feel like it sprung out of nowhere. Like suddenly these teams started creating these tools and everybody got on the bandwagon. How was that for you?
Yeah, I mean, it does feel like it kind of sprang out of nowhere, but to be honest, I kind of felt, something like this could eventually happen. I guess I feel like you could always kind of copy LP, like you'd been able to track wallets before, and while it's semi-manual, I feel like it kind of always existed, but with these tools, it's just really, really accessible.
And how successful is Copy LP compared to your manual LP? Because you've built up some of this experience, right? Do you know if you have any copiers?
No, I'm not sure, to be honest. I'd have to check. But I feel, it kind of looks flashy from the outside. You see Copy LP, you find a green chart on, some tool and you feel, I copy it, I'm just going to instantly be profitable. But I feel it just doesn't work like that. Maybe at the very beginning it did, but no, I think there is a lot more that goes into it as well. And versus manual, I don't think it's more profitable. If you know how to LP, I think you'll make more manually. But I think it does come down to, the wallet and strategy. But I think if you do find a really good wallet, you will be able to, could be more profitable doing that as well.
Would you put a lot of your eggs in one wallet, or is there like a whole strategy around this?
So I actually, I've tried out, I think probably all the bots. I put money in all of them. I think it's better to, be more diversified. Obviously, when we're on Meteor, we're, trying to be diversified anyway. But I think, Yeah, you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. Try the copy trading bots, and obviously there's a lot more risk of them as well. But I would keep, manually, use more manually, I think.
So I know that all these teams are working super hard on these bots all the time, and for me, I've really just been focused on getting all the data correct for UltraLP. Like, we've also looked into it, but we're like, no, we just want, like, everyone's already building this already. We're not, they already fulfill kind of the needs of everyone in the community. So we're just like, okay, let's just get our numbers, our PNL, all these numbers fast and accurate as much as possible. We figure, like, okay, if we do one thing really well, then we can be known for that one thing. So I've never actually dove too deep into these different tools. Is there like a better one or a faster one? If it's not a great one, what are the consequences? Are there consequences to kind of these things? What are the risks?
Yeah, great question. I think for starters, even finding a wallet, I think even just the accuracy, as you're talking about P&Ls, obviously it's difficult even getting the P&Ls perfectly accurate. Obviously, UltraLP is, very accurate. You have your own solution built out. A lot of them, they're accurate for a lot of positions, but when people are making, double figure positions a day, there's always quite a lot which kind of miss the mark, and it does impact how some of the charts look. And I don't think there's any tools right now which have accurate P&L graphs of what wallets are like, and you do have to kind of try and manually monitor them a bit. So I've kind of had to just build my own solutions a bit where I take some wallets, and I think I've heard a few other people mention it, and monitor their Solana balance over a period of time. So yeah, it is tough, and it is the same with tools as well. I think right now, the main three copy trading bots, I'll say LP Agent, Met Engine, and Sol Decoder, all quite accurate for DL and MM. But I think they all open quickly, but there's been a lot of issues in the past, I think, and they've been ironed out. But it does depend, I think, on the kind of wallets you're trying to follow the positions of as well, because there's so many different ways to make meteor positions, and a lot of edge cases, I suppose, where you deposit too much or too little, and it can be tough with some strategies. But right now, I think if you're just following someone doing bid asks, I think you're fine with any bot.
So it'll tell you if the position they're doing is a bid ask or a spot?
Yeah, I think for copy LPing, I found bid ask positions are the only ones which are truly safe.
Yeah, you want to follow the lead who's also being safe, I guess.
Yeah, definitely.
And so I guess if the lead is putting Tensol into a position, would you do more than that or less? Obviously less, right?
Again, it depends. I think if you're following a wallet, maybe if your balance is 10 and they're 100, you don't want to be copying with your whole balance. So yeah, you'd want to be using a much smaller amount. I think a lot of the bots now, they've all adopted a % of position. So you can copy in a ratio based on their total balance. I think that's the best way to do it. So if they have 100, they enter with 10, you'd enter with 1.
1 to 10, and that kind of lowers your risk.
Yeah, but if you wanted even lower risk, you could do, I suppose, 5% of their balance if you only had 10, they had 100. But
could you?
Yeah, that kind of ratio.
1 to 10,
that's the method I prefer.
And when it's going, how do you monitor how things are actively going? Or you don't care, you just let it go, right?
Yeah, I mean, you definitely do want to monitor. I think the easiest way, obviously, UltraLP, I've got that set up for my main wallets, but for these, I found there's Sol Meteor and LP Agent. You can kind of look on them, or you can on any of these bots, or you can export your wallet, load it into Meteora, and you can also, manually see the positions, close them if you want, or open other positions.
That makes sense. And I guess if it's doing well, are you like diamond handing, or if they're going badly, how much are we going to accept as a loss and accept and trust the process, so to speak?
Yeah, that's definitely a big issue. I've had a lot of losses. You see they're green for a bunch of days, and then you start copying, they go red. And do you want to continue or not? I've definitely faced that. Yes, that's a tough one. I think it's after that I realized, are they actually good to follow? Were they, lucky for a week or so? And I think you actually have to like look at their kind of positions, like, because you could look up a wallet and be green, but what kind of positions were they? Were they buying tokens and being risky and had a lucky streak? So I suppose you could have quite a long lucky streak, or were they doing safe positions? And that's kind of where I, had to hone my strategy a bit and learn a lot. But generally, I found if they actually looked like they were good and they just had a red day, I've kind of stuck with it. But sometimes it can depend on the amount of kind of green days as well. I guess there's quite a lot that can go into looking at it. But yeah, that's the tough one. I guess that's the question to ask.
My question in another way of saying it is, does historical performance, like how they were performing last week or last month or for the last period of time, does that dictate or ensure that their performance is going to be good in the future? I guess we'll never know. But what you brought up was interesting, is tracking the Solana holdings and if that's growing over time. And I guess that's a good metric because it's a little bit less messy, right?
Sorry, what was that?
I was going to say that you were tracking Solana holdings over time, which is like if their portfolio is just growing in general. I think that's a little bit easier to track than just looking at like position profit.
Yeah, it's just because sometimes if you are, I think LP Agent is quite popular for looking at performance, and I think in reality, because some people can make so many positions, sometimes they have green days and they weren't actually green, and sometimes they have red days which were green. They have red days that were green. So just being able to get the Solana balance and just try and track it, I found to be just the safest way.
Interesting. So can you run me through your day of doing copy LPing? Is it like you log into the tool, you look for wallets first, or do you already have a few that's designated, see what they're doing? Or are these like multi-days where you just like put it in the bot, 1 sol, 2 sol, and then let it go for the whole week? It just opens and closes as it will.
Yeah, so I found the simplest way, Google Sheets. You have the wallets, maybe you're looking at a few, maybe you've looked at some tools, you looked on chain, you found some other wallets, and just made a simple kind of just some categorization. Are they active? What kind of trade size are they? Or trade style as well. Just a few different columns, nothing too fancy. Built up just kind of a range of wallets. And I built a little script which just I run it once a day, and it just tells me if they're kind of what positions they've made. As I said, tracking Solana balance. So the way I do it for myself, I actually do it for this kind of just list of wallets. So I can just see a graph for this short list I've made, see how they're doing. Even if I'm not actively, I'm not copying them because I'm only copying a few, just see how they're doing. And to be honest, I won't look for wallets often, just if I feel that the current one might stop being active, or I don't know, they go red and I start taking a lot of losses. But kind of other than those scenarios, I'll just kind of let them do their thing.
And do you deposit once and then just let it go, and then it'll automatically kind of do everything else for you?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, they're quite good. The tools are quite good now. You just deposit, you can set your percent, and to be honest, they can just go, and you could leave them, I suppose, for as long as you like. But I think it's worth checking manually, even a few, every day, a few times a day, because, stuff can happen. You never know.
And so the script that you wrote is like basically tracking how the balance is increasing or decreasing over time, kind of like the LP agent overview or the GeekLad overview of the history, right? So
Yeah, pretty similar.
Today we're up, today we're down a bit, but overall we're up, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I just found it to be just a bit more accurate for me, just because I wasn't sure on Solana if there's any tool which you can really just track a Solana balance, the total balance of a wallet over time. Like I tried to search like a Dune dashboard, I just couldn't find it to be accurate for some reason. But I mean, it's worked for me.
That's good. Okay, interesting. Yeah, I guess what will be difficult is like new tokens. Sometimes it takes a while for Jupiter to fetch the prices right, and Jupiter API is what like a lot of different tools will be using to understand the prices, and you need the prices multiplied by how many tokens there are to equal the account value. That's always kind of a problem, or they give the wrong price. That's also a problem. So definitely not a solved issue, but I've been looking into that for the last little while. I think in the coming, I don't want to promise anything, but a couple of weeks, we should have what we understand to be the most accurate form of historical. And that's, I've been working on that for like 6 months. So yeah, that's something. And hopefully when we come out with that, you'll be able to track these copy LP wallets with more precision.
That'd be amazing. Yeah. And I figured that's probably one of the hardest things, to get right, and, would take a lot of effort, because it definitely feels with, meteor positions, a lot of tools are accurate for a lot of the positions, but every so often there's the few that throw it off and can massively impact how their profitability looks.
Yeah. So the issue with that, if I just do a tiny little spiel of how this works, is if there's one error, oftentimes it will create consecutive errors, because that first error does a miscalculation, and all the other calculations for that position is built off of that one. And so the error rate, or how wrong it is, goes massively increases. So if it was a position that was gaining, for example, $1 every minute, and it messes up and writes like $10 in 1 minute, it starts to build up on that and just become more and more wrong. And the tool would need a way to kind of go back and fix that original error, and then look at what kind of consequences that original error had created, and then recalculate everything from that point forward. It needs to be able to recognize that first error, but also recalculate the rest.
Okay.
And this happens for, of course, hundreds and thousands of accounts at the same time. So that's usually where the problem lies.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I think it's way over my head, but I understand the rundown,
And then Meteora will say, hey, we have this new code. It changes how the contract works. Oh, shit. Then everything breaks. And then you have to fix it then again. We have a question in the chat from Patrick, and he's asking, which tools do you use to copy? I guess another way of asking this question is, which one is the best one for you so far, like today?
So I think that Solder Coder tool is very customizable, and I think I do have the most loaded up on that particular wallet, because you can set minimum dupe score. You can set, I've got videos on all of them, but you can set, you don't want to enter tokens below a certain market cap. So you could copy someone, but you're only copying, some of their positions, and excluding others. And it's quite accurate, because I believe they have a polling feature, and sometimes there's errors with, I think, the API where it misses closing, but you know, there's a system where it just automatically kind of runs that every minute, make sure, you know, you don't get bag holding some tokens. But LP agent, to be honest, I quite like, you know, you can search up a wallet and just easily copy it built into the platform. I just followed someone doing multi-day strategies on there, and I've not had any issues with that so far or recently. Yeah, and the same with Met Engine.
Is there a preference over? It sounds like the preference is
yeah,
Soul Decoder.
Yeah, Soul Decoder. But then, yeah, Met Engine do have their DAM feature, which I was trying out as well. Which
the DAMMV2.
Yeah.
Okay, that's more for like small caps and kind of anti-snipers.
Yeah. I guess that's a bit of a different topic. Whether.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, are you doing that as well? Have you seen that good upside on DAMM?
So there is, but I did like literally just stop it because I don't know, it kind of feels, you know, going to the ethics of DLMM, you know, a bit kind of wrong to do it, because I think DAMMs are a lot more kind of PvP, where, you know, you can eat into their fees a lot if you are copying.
Oh, so tell me more about that. So with DLMM, it's a bit less, you're not screwing the lead LP here as much as the DAMM. Why is that?
Yeah, so yeah, I think it's quite a hot topic right now. But yeah, I mean, in DLMMs, yeah, so when you have, there's obviously a lot more liquidity in pools for starters. Quite often, all the pools, it depends who you're following, but you know, if you're going to follow someone who's going into pools with, you know, 50,000, 100,000 already in the pools, or maybe a lot more, if you're adding, I don't know, $500, you know, it's not making a big impact into their fees. And if you're, you know, on the lower cap tokens, it can do.
Oh, it makes a bigger difference because of the market cap and the amount of liquidity. Yeah,
of course. But when you're providing liquidity on the higher tokens, you're obviously, you know, supporting them a lot more liquidity on Meteor, as helping the tokens as well.
It's true. So with DAM, because it's so early in the token cycle, when you copy LP DAMM, you're flooding and diluting their position by a lot more than DLMM.
Yeah, it's a bit. And also, you know, a lot less, these DAMMs, a lot less people are entering. You know, you could have, you know, 5-10 people entering. And if you have, you know, there's a lot less people are doing it. And if you have 10 people copying you, and, you know, there's barely any people in it anyway, you know, it's not a good feeling for the people who are doing it.
I'm curious as to if there was a way to measure or calculate, like, how badly a copy LP is affecting you, or how it's bettering it. I wonder if that's like a way
I was actually just I just sent a message to Professor who made Soul Decoder, kind of asked about that, because there has been this feature, I think LP Agent has it, and Soul Decoder just recently added it, where you can send a tip to the person you copy if you want.
Cool.
If you have a profitable position, you want to tip them to thank them. And I was just wondering, you know, if I'm copying you, and is it taking any fees away from you? If I send, you know, if a 5% tip, would that be more that covers, you know, the fees that I suppose you could be taking, or does it help, you know?
Yeah.
And I think it depends on the token market cap. If you're copying someone early on and you're diluting the pool, you know, probably you copying them could take away some of the fees they could have made. But, you know, on the higher market cap, you know, obviously a lot less so. But yeah, I think we're going to see a trend where, you know, you'll be able to, maybe donations, you know, more going into looking into these, you know, giving a % of the win, because there has been a lot more of a hot topic about copiers and trying to, you know, dump on them, or people having to change wallets because they don't want to be copied.
Yeah, I've been following Mythical Potato, and he's been he's been saying a few things like, oh, it's really annoying for because he probably everybody copies him his wallets, and so it must be frustrating every time you open a position and then like 20 copy trades will show up right at your door, which with his size is probably okay, but then it just like means, I don't know, I think there was a person that DM'd him and complained that he lost money on one of his positions, and I thought that was very ironic and funny.
I think if you copy trade, you can't complain at all. Lose.
You can't have your cake and eat it.
No, I think I mean Mythical Potato. I think when I made the video on kind of looking at the P&L cards, I think I might have just shown his as just an example, and I didn't think people would copy it because I thought they'd realize he makes too many positions, they're too fast. I think you're definitely going to lose quickly if you try. But I think people still try because they just probably see him being profitable.
Yeah, that's totally understandable. I mean, this whole LPing game takes a long time, a lot of risk, a lot of brain power, and also it's kind of there's a risk to picking the wrong one, and you never know really. So
I think in his case, I definitely think, I guess he definitely has a right to be upset. People are probably got a bunch of wallets trying to copy, and I would want a solution to try and even it out. And I believe there will be something as we develop. Kind of we had no copiers, then I feel like we had some tools where you could see the positions of what's like Cielo. Don't know if you're familiar with that.
Yeah,
and just see what pools people are entering. Like Telegram notifications, with copy trading bots. I kind of made the video on the P&L cards, I don't know, just to see what the reaction was, kind of speed up the process a bit. And I guess the next evolution is there'll be another evolution, which we'll see what happens, I feel.
I think it's it's an open ecosystem. Everyone can do exactly the good part of it is that people are free to do anything they want, and they can copy trade, copy LP, and that's, I think, part of the cool part of the system. Like, you wouldn't be able to do this in a traditional financial type of situation without being regulated, and that's kind of the beauty of it. And so I really support kind of people building these different tools and opening up more opportunities. And then there will be new problems, right? Maybe if everyone starts copying LPing, then nobody is able to actually make any money. So it's kind of like a fine balance as well, I think. So I think the tools and the community will probably adjust for that. So I'm excited to see how things turn out there on that end. But in the meanwhile, I was reading this thread, I think, on the proposals on Meteora, and there just seems to be like this one guy who's like, yo, copy LPing, people shouldn't get the airdrop or whatever. And I was like, whoa, things are heating up. There's some drama. So that's how I kind of also got really interested in this. I just wanted to see what comes of it. Do you think that this tipping thing, like, is it going to be like mandatory tipping, or is it more like, because I think of NFTs as soon as I saw this, I was like, oh, it's like NFT marketplaces. You had to enforce the royalties, 2%, 5%, or like something like Blur, which would come out and do the 0%. Do you feel like it's just going to be like a free-for-all, anyone can donate, or is it going to be like, okay, everyone has to pay 5%?
Will someone make a new bot which someone makes tipping mandatory, and someone makes a bot which copies those positions with none? Definitely. I see what you mean. So I think this is all kind of public knowledge, but I believe LP agent is mandatory. I think it is. But I guess there's kind of probably a value or a number where if you tip maybe at kind of offsets kind of any losses the person might have had? Or I think if people are entering high market cap with bid asks and you're copying them, you're supporting Meteor, you're supporting the coin, and you probably donating the profit, I think would be more than they would make if you weren't copying them, if that makes sense.
Oh,
I feel if the percent was a certain number, maybe 10%.
Oh,
I don't know the exact number, but I think on lower market cap, or I don't know what kind of number would align. If it's like a new coin and people are copying, what would be suffice? But yeah, I do think it could become more mandatory, especially with the growing kind of resentment around it. If we don't want people getting, I suppose, rugged, because I think there was an announcement in the LP Army Discord about trying to rug your copy LPers, which no one really wants. But yeah, I mean, definitely a big topic, and I suppose there'll be a lot of experimentation with finding the balance.
Yeah, so it's actually not hard to rug your copy LPers, because it's easy to dump on your copy traders when you start noticing that, because a lot of those KOLs that are shilling different tokens, they would just pump the price up while everyone follows, and then sell right before they sell, and then you're suddenly a lot of your followers are at a loss. So I guess that's also a risk here. And there's also the idea, like, I don't think these bots are super hard to code. Like, it's a probably month to month and a half long project for anyone that's sophisticated. So even if like MetaEngine, Soul Decoder, and LP Agent end up doing the tipping system or the percentage profit share system, somebody could come out and just be like, hey, zero on us. And then there's ought to be people who want to use that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what will exactly happen. I think we have to wait and see.
Yeah. Quite interesting.
Yeah, I actually saw a new tool today. Not much different to my Google Sheet really, but I have some wallets where I can see their positions for the day and see how many are in a certain pool, just to give me information for my manual DLM and maybe see the good pools. And it was a kind of a platform where kind of like some wallets, and you could see a summary like what I just mentioned, with how many are in a certain pool with kind of, I guess, influencers or profitable wallets.
Oh,
so it's kind of how we all know the popular wallets to manually like copy trade with KOLs. That something like that could happen on a Meteor, I suppose, like a platform or something.
Oh, interesting.
I guess there could be other dynamics come into play as well.
There's so many community tools that are being built on Meteora. I'm always surprised. I saw another two this past 2-3 weeks. Yeah, it's kind of baffling. Like, I was like, is everyone making money building these tools? I was like, we don't charge anything. And I was like, okay, cool, interesting. But it's always kind of cool to see people building new things. The LP Army has been very supportive, and Meteora as well. So that's cool. Okay, I guess we'll have to see.
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, I get DMs from, quite a lot of tools, and sometimes I'm a bit slow to reply to them. I don't know, I think it's because of Twitter. So many spam bots now. It's insane right now. But I try quite a lot out. I actually think you, Richard, you were one of the first people. I think you're the first tool for Meteora, I think, that reached out. At first I thought, I was scared to connect, but
I was still err on the side of caution.
Yeah. But that was very early with your tool, I think.
Yeah. I appreciate that. Part of a tool builder's job is to get feedback, and like what was really hard in the early days was to get people, like talking to you, for example, was to get people to respond and not think we're a scam. And that's so tough. Now it's easy, right? Now it's like, oh, kind of everybody knows what we do, and I'm doxxed, and people are like, oh, these guys aren't gonna, oh, I have no way of rugging anybody. But so it's a lot easier. But in the beginning, really appreciate you responding to me and then checking things out.
I mean, I suppose a lot of tools, I feel like with Meteora, a lot of people just, I don't know, I suppose they just like helping the community and just building tools. Maybe they built them for themselves and open source, or, made their platforms live. I don't know exactly. Yeah. I just feel like that with Meteora.
Yeah, Meteora is kind of what we're all kind of building around. And this community has been unlike most of the ones I have seen. Like I've been looking at like other communities as well, but there's always like some sort of X factor with the Meteora community. I think it's because like everyone feels like they're kind of making money and it's fairly consistent, or people who aren't consistent want to get better at being consistent, and there's some sort of like skill. There's a skilling thing that you can kind of progress and get better. And that has kind of made this, plus the tools and everything, has made this community, more focused, more like together, instead of like PvP as much. So that's been kind of the X factor that I saw. It's different with this community and the others, and that's what made us want to start building these tools in the first place. But it is hard, I think. For these tools to break out and be, for example, like for me, for example, I want to build like UltraLP to be as big as Meteora, for it to be like not just helping Meteora LPs, but helping the whole ecosystem. And so I think that's going to take a while. Is there any other challenges that you face on the day-to-day, as either in trading or copy LP or LP, that you can share with us so I can have a better understanding of like what stuff to build?
Good question. Yeah, I suppose, I mean, for copy LPing, as we just, mentioned, accuracy of, I guess, seeing the data of wallet performance. Yeah, I feel like that, GeekLad's tool and all the other tools, I think actually an accurate.
Sorry. Hey, don't run Amazing. Drea, are you hearing this reverb from Razzaer?
No, I'm not. Everything sounds good.
Oh, sorry. Maybe that's just me. One second. I'm getting a little bit of a reverb or echo. Can you start talking again?
Oh, hello.
Okay, yeah, we're good now. Cool. Yeah, sorry, you were saying?
Yeah, I suppose, accuracy of data is kind of, a base point. See how your wallet's done previously. And obviously with the P&L cards as well. You've got that locked down pretty much. But yeah, I feel how wallets are performing. Other than that, I feel like using tools to close out positions and maybe swap your tokens back very quickly, as we're kind of related to copy LP. If you're being copied, you don't want to close the position and your copy is to dump before you. I think there's a few, you can do that on some Telegram bots. But off the top of my head, I'm sure there's a bunch of stuff, but
yeah, I guess I'm just curious. That is one of the known issues, which is closing out in priority sequence is very hard. To get it to land at the right amount of slippage is kind of hard. With like Jito bundling and things like that, it's going to take some time to build something for anybody to build out things that land really well on Solana. But yeah, okay, I hear you out. Hey, Drea, do you have any questions for Razzaer? You've been quiet.
Yeah, I actually do. I know that you copy other people's wallets and everything, and I just want to see your opinion. Like, if someone copies you and they are making a lot of money and you're actually losing out on fees too, because like maybe it's like a small mid cap, like maybe it's not even at 1 million yet. Would you be upset at them by any chance?
Yeah, I think sub-million. Yeah, that's probably not fun in the LP. Maybe I know. I guess you might have bought some tokens. The volatile. I think so. Yeah, and I guess that's kind of how much. I don't know. If we can figure out how much are they taking away from you? Is there a way
Yeah,
to see
yeah,
that?
for sure. Like because I've copied people and it didn't go well for me, so I just ended up copying myself. And sometimes people see like a small couple $100 wins and they'll be like, "Oh, can I get your wallet?" I'm like, I'm pretty degen, so you're gonna lose. And when they copy and they see that they're losing too, they're like, all right, moving on to the next person. So like, it doesn't really affect me because I'm in the L's. But yeah, I just want to see your opinion on if
Well,
someone copies
actually,
you.
I think even if you're, sub a million, let's say, even if I think if you're taking wins, but they're like quite quick plays, they could, if their position's opening, if you have a few copiers, I think the bots, it's kind of, they're slower when there's multiple people. They could open quite a bit later and buy the tokens, and they actually might take losses when you take wins. I think there can also be that scenario.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. I thought because my understanding was like some of the bots close quicker. That's why some people were, from what I was reading too, like they may be upset because the bots close and swap
Oh,
faster than you.
yeah, I guess that's to do with you close or they close, sorry, and they auto swap the tokens, don't they?
Yeah, that's a stop loss because if they set you're LPing and you're okay with the position going into negative, like negative 30% because you think there's going to be a reversal, but they set their stop loss at negative 20, or the default or whatever it is on the bot, and you have 10 people setting it at a fairly low threshold. As soon as it goes down a bit, you're watching the chart and you're like, oh, it's fine. I'm okay with this. They all sell, and what they sell into your liquidity as the lead, and that's when people get upset.
Yeah,
They're like,
I
"Wow."
think there needs to be, some solution for stuff like that. I think, yeah, I would, be annoyed and,
No, got you.
I definitely agree in that sense.
We talked, I think in February when we talked last, my idea was the vault system. Basically the lead, everyone kind of pulls their money into a vault, and then the lead is able to LP or even do any other types of strategies on that vault to make money for everyone, kind of just be an asset manager. And I thought that, some people from the Goose DAO have now mentioned that again and said, hey, maybe that's a better idea than copy LP, because then you're kind of earning performance fees. When you manage other people's fees, whatever, you just take like 5% or 10% of the profits or something, and everyone's happy. What is the problem there is if you lose other people's money, then everybody's kind of upset. With copy LP, hey, if you lost money, you copy my wallet, it's GG. So there's pros and cons to it, and we looked into it, and if we were to build it at size, like say there's a couple million in the pot, I felt like that was dangerous, because right now copy LP and these things, vaults, they have to be really secure. So I thought the risks did not outweigh the benefits, so didn't end up going in that direction just yet. There's just way too many unknown variables.
Okay, yeah, it's interesting. Like, is it hyperliquid vaults?
Hyperliquid vaults, that's a little bit different than LP, where the positions, they're executing the strategy on like perps. That's okay. That you could be more sophisticated and try to like rug people, but this LPing thing, it just feels a bit easier to rug people.
Yeah. I mean, I guess someone might come out with something like that.
The vault.
Yeah. I think, yeah, I definitely seen it. I think mentioned in LP Army and Gustau, because I think, Logical TA. I think he had a lot of copy traders.
Yeah.
And just reading now, I think if there was a solution like that, I guess depending on how it's set up, someone like him and his strategy, a vault system, would work. I suppose some people might be in favor of it, but some people might, like maybe Mythical Potato just likes using his own funds. Wouldn't, not everyone, I suppose, would want people copying or to manage their money.
Yeah.
Well,
I guess it depends. I know Mining Helium has a fund that he manages other
yes.
people. Yeah. So, on good days, he's flying high. On bad days, like it's also kind of uncomfortable and anxiety inducing. I know.
Yeah.
For him.
Yeah, I guess with copy LPers, you don't have that problem. If you lose, they lose.
We're all in the same boat, buddy.
But with vaults, I don't know, would you have more responsibility?
I mean, if it's a vault of 100 soul, and you let people put in 100 soul, then maybe it's not so bad because you're losing just as much. But if you're doing 1 to 10, where it's like 100 soul, but there's 900 soul of other people's money, and you lose, then
Yeah.
hell to pay. And we've had that previous, what was that community? I think it was the one that rugged everybody, which was managing one of these funds.
Oh,
B printers, right?
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. B printers. So there's precedence for kind of the risks involved with this. Anyway, thank you, Razzaer, so much for your time. I think we're on the hour now, so I'd like to wrap up. If there was one thing that you wanted to tell the audience of, I think right now we have about 200 people in the chat. What would you say just in general about copy LP, and like what are the kind of the risks? And let's just make it like 3 tips that you think are important for people to know.
Okay. 3 tips, I guess, relating to copy LP. I'd say, first of all, if you are going to copy, I'd probably find people, as I said, doing kind of those higher market cap 5 to 10% gains a day, even though, that's pretty good. Bid ask curves. I think anything other than that, and, it's just risky. You might be, eating into their fees. And there's a lot more chance for you to lose more. I guess second of all, you can also use copy LPing to learn. I think it's quite a good way. So maybe you have 10 Solana, you could copy someone and you want to learn, because you mentioned, Richard, a lot of new people kind of jump into copy LPing. Just put a little bit in and kind of just try and reverse engineer what they're doing. As, I think it can be a really good way to learn strategies. And 3, I don't know. I think those 2, they're the most important.
Yeah, I think maybe the third one is just tracking the overall Solana balance.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Don't rely on any tools, really.
Yeah.
Make sure
do your own
kind
homework.
of linking to number 2 and trying to learn more about what they're doing, but try and track yourself. Make sure they're actually, I guess, profitable.
Yeah, makes sense. Maybe that'll be a clout score one day, how many copiers you have.
Yeah,
I got 10. Oh, I got 100. If the tipping and the profit share works in the future. Well, thank you so much, Razzaer. I really appreciate you coming on and spending your time with us. I look forward to kind of getting the new content. Everybody, if you guys are in the chat, come check out and follow him. I've got his Twitter account on there, and you can dive in and find the links for his other content. Appreciate it, everybody. Thank you guys for coming. We'll see you guys next week.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot for having me, Richard.
Thanks. Bye.